This was something that crossed every line, shattered every boundary, and left players, officials, and sponsors asking the same terrifying question. Has golf lost control completely? What actually went down that has the PGA Tour in emergency meetings? Why are players threatening to boycott future events? And how did one tournament turn into a full-blown crisis that could permanently change professional golf forever? Let's be brutally honest about something first. The Waste Management Open has always been golf's wildest party. The 16th hole stadium holds over 20,000 screaming fans who treat the tournament like a Super Bowl tailgate mixed with a college football rivalry. But 2026 wasn't just loud or rowdy, it was something completely different, something darker, and what unfolded over 4 days has left permanent scars on players and exposed cracks in the PGA Tour's ability to control its own events. Thursday started with warning signs that everybody ignored. Social media clips showed fans chanting aggressively at players during backswings, not just cheering after shots, but actively trying to disrupt concentration mid-swing. One video went viral showing a group screaming directly at Rory McIlroy as he addressed his ball on the 16th tee, forcing him to step away 3 times before finally hitting. McIlroy's face in that clip said everything. This wasn't fun anymore. This was hostile. By Friday, the energy had shifted from party atmosphere to something that felt genuinely dangerous. Reports surfaced of fans throwing objects onto the fairway, not just accidentally, but deliberately trying to hit players or caddies. One caddy posted on social media about having a full beer can land near his feet on the 17th. Hole close enough that if it had hit him directly, it could have caused serious injury. Tournament officials issued warnings but took no real action. No ejections, no consequences, just empty threats that the crowd completely ignored. Then came Saturday, and everything exploded in ways nobody predicted. The 16th hole turned into absolute bedlam that made previous years look tame by comparison. As Scotty Scheffler, the world's #1, stepped onto the tee box Saturday afternoon, the noise level wasn't just loud, it was physically painful, a wall of sound so intense that players later described feeling it in their chests like a concert speaker pressed against their ribs. Scheffler tried to address his ball and couldn't. The crowd was chanting, screaming, creating chaos specifically designed to rattle him. He stepped away once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th attempt, something snapped. Video shows Scheffler turning to the crowd and making a gesture, not obscene, but clearly frustrated, a calm down motion with his hands that only made the crowd louder and more aggressive. What happened next shocked everyone watching and sent the golf world into absolute chaos. A section of fans in the upper deck started throwing things, not just cups or trash, but full beer cans, plastic bottles, even food wrappers raining down onto the green and surrounding area. Scheffler's caddy Ted Scott immediately moved to shield his player, and officials rushed onto the scene trying to restore order. But the damage was done. Scheffler was visibly shaken, his composure completely shattered, and he would go on to make double bogey on the hole after 3-putting from 15 feet. But that wasn't even the most disturbing part. What happened to Justin Thomas on the same hole 30 minutes later crossed a line golf has never seen before. As Thomas lined up his approach shot, a fan somehow got past security and ran onto the fairway, sprinting toward Thomas before being tackled by security just yards away from the player. The fan was detained and removed, but Thomas was so rattled he couldn't continue playing immediately and had to take several minutes to compose himself. The PGA Tour released a statement calling the incident unacceptable and promising increased security, but players weren't having it. Behind the scenes, reports started leaking that multiple high-profile players were discussing withdrawing from the tournament entirely, citing safety concerns and complete breakdown of crowd control. One veteran player, speaking anonymously, said, "This isn't golf anymore. This is a circus putting players in actual danger, and if the tour doesn't fix it immediately, people are going to start refusing to play here." Saturday night turned into emergency mode for tournament officials and PGA Tour brass. Conference calls were held, security protocols were reviewed, and a decision was made that nobody saw coming. Sunday's final round would feature dramatically reduced crowd capacity, with the 16th hole stadium limited to just 10,000 fans instead of the usual 20,000 plus. Additionally, alcohol sales would be cut off after 2 p.m., and any fan caught throwing objects would face immediate ejection and a lifetime ban from all PGA Tour events. The announcement sent shockwaves through the golf world and ignited a firestorm of debate. Traditionalists praised the decision, saying it was long overdue and that golf needed to protect its players. But another faction absolutely lost their minds, calling it an overreaction that would kill the fun and unique atmosphere that makes the Waste Management Open special. The divide was instant, brutal, and showed just how split the golf community had become. Sunday morning brought a completely different atmosphere to TPC Scottsdale. The reduced crowd capacity made the 16th hole feel almost subdued, and players immediately noticed the difference. Several commented that they could actually think during their shots that it felt like golf again instead of a stadium concert. But the damage to the tournament's reputation was already done and spreading like wildfire. Sponsors started asking uncomfortable questions behind closed doors. Multiple companies that had poured millions into the event were reportedly concerned about their brands being associated with the chaos and lack of control. One major sponsor was said to be reviewing their contract and considering whether to pull funding if significant changes weren't implemented for 2027. Players, meanwhile, were speaking out publicly in ways they usually avoid. Rory McIlroy gave an interview Sunday morning where he didn't hold back, saying there's a difference between passionate fans and drunk idiots who think throwing things at professionals is entertainment. He called for permanent changes to alcohol policies and suggested that some tournaments had crossed the line from fan-friendly to player-hostile. Then came the moment that truly crystallized how serious this had become. Max Homa, one of the tour's most popular players, posted a long statement on social media Sunday night after the tournament ended. In it, he described feeling genuinely unsafe at multiple points during the week, said he'd been hit by debris thrown from the crowd, and revealed that he'd seriously considered withdrawing mid-tournament but felt pressure to continue because of sponsor obligations and fan expectations. Homa's statement went nuclear across social media, generating millions of impressions and sparking even more intense debate. The fact that a beloved, fan-favorite player felt unsafe at a PGA Tour event was a PR disaster the tour couldn't spin or dismiss. This wasn't some prima donna complaining about noise. This was a legitimate safety crisis that had been building for years and finally exploded in 2026. By Monday morning, the fallout was dominating sports media coverage everywhere. ESPN dedicated multiple segments to the waste management chaos. Golf Channel ran a special investigation into fan behavior. Major newspapers published opinion pieces debating whether golf's attempt to attract younger, rowdier fans had gone too far and destroyed what made the sport special. The PGA Tour responded with a comprehensive statement promising a full review of fan conduct policies, alcohol sales procedures, and security protocols. They announced the formation of a player safety committee that would work directly with tournament directors to establish clear boundaries and consequences. Sure affects even the greatest athletes, because if Tiger Woods can mentally slip at Augusta, anyone can. And that's why this disqualification still matters. It wasn't just dumb because of the rule he broke, it was dumb because of who broke it, where it happened, and how easily it could have been avoided. Tiger Woods didn't lose the Masters that year because he couldn't compete. He lost it because he outthought himself, trusted his instinct instead of the rule book, and talked himself into one of the most embarrassing moments of his career. In the days that followed, Tiger took full responsibility. He didn't blame Augusta. He didn't blame officials. He admitted the mistake was his. He explained his thinking. He accepted the outcome. But that honesty didn't erase the sting. Golf is a sport where margins are thin and rules are unforgiving. And this moment proved that even the greatest player of all time isn't immune. If anything, Tiger's stature made the fall more dramatic. The expectations were higher, the scrutiny harsher, the disappointment deeper. In a sport obsessed with precision, Tiger's mistake was sloppy. In a tournament built on tradition, it was jarring. And in a legacy defined by control, it was devastating. Tiger Woods would go on to write new chapters, including one of the greatest comeback wins in sports history. But no amount of future glory can erase the fact that, for one moment at Augusta, the most disciplined golfer of all time made the dumbest mistake imaginable. And golf will never forget it. Tiger Woods didn't lose his legacy that day at Augusta, but he lost something just as important: the illusion of perfection. The dumbest disqualification in golf history wasn't about talent or pressure, it was about how even the greatest can outsmart themselves. One small decision, one casual explanation, and an entire tournament slipped away. That's the brutal truth about golf. It doesn't care who you are or what you've won before. At Augusta, the rules don't forget, and neither do the fans. Tiger would rise again, but this moment remains frozen in time. A reminder that greatness isn't just about how you win. Sometimes it's about how you lose. Deeper than money alone. After his move to the Saudi-funded LIV Golf, a decision that already divided the sport, Rahm has drawn a line in the sand. He is refusing to pay the fines imposed by the DP World Tour for participating in competing events without permission. This is not just an administrative dispute, it is a fight over principles, power, and the future of professional golf. While the DP World Tour insists on enforcing its rules, Rahm refuses to back down, and the consequences could be seismic. His place on the European team, an honor he has defended with so much passion, hangs by a thread, and the clock is ticking. Tensions began to rise when Rahm, alongside other European stars such as Tyrrell Hatton, made the jump to LIV Golf. The DP World Tour, which has a long-standing strategic alliance with the PGA Tour, responded by imposing sanctions. According to the tour's rules, members must request permission to participate in events that conflict with its own schedule. LIV Golf events clearly fell into that category. The fines piled up quickly, reportedly to about $127,000 per tournament played. Many players opted to pay the fines or resign their membership to avoid confrontation. But Rahm and Hatton chose a different path. They appealed the sanctions, a legal move that temporarily froze their suspensions and allowed them to play in the 2025 Ryder Cup at Bethpage, New York. There, they played crucial roles in Team Europe's victory, a triumph that reignited the transatlantic rivalry. But that victory was only a temporary ceasefire in a much larger conflict. The appeals process only delayed the consequences, and now that the Ryder Cup is over, the bill is due. The situation became even more complicated when the DP World Tour flat out rejected an offer from LIV Golf to pay the players' fines collectively. This was a clear signal that the tour's stance wasn't